Redding is a beautiful place. We have national parks in 3 different directions, 2 world-class lakes. This is a sportsman's paradise, but it's also full of wonderful people. We have business leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, all of them working towards a singular goal, and that's to make this a great place to live. I wanted to showcase these people, give their perception of the place that they call home. This is AllRedding. Hey, good morning. I'm here with John Jones, president and owner of Custom Plumbing.
Good
to see you, sir.
You too, man. How you doing?
Very good. Brought out here on, I think this is Olney Creek, isn't it? This is beautiful. Good morning.
Yeah.
Great way to start the day.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know,
beautiful out here.
I know you're thinking like, why did he pull me out here so early in the morning?
I thought we were going hunting.
Yeah. That. Well, I'd have to have my license, and I'm dragging my feet. I got my booklet to start my. It's the hunter safety course, which is you know better than me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going through the process, but. I'm supposed to go turkey hunting, which I think starts next month.
Yeah, this next month. Yeah, turkey hunting will be coming around, and that's going to be for bow or rifle. So it'll be a lot of fun. The bow is first, right? The bow guys always get to go, and gals, for all you female hunters. But the bow hunters always get to go first, right? Yeah, and I believe in turkey season, the season extends longer for bow hunters as well. Unlike, you know, with deer, bow hunters are first, and then rifle season comes up, and then it ends.
So do you do any bow hunting at all?
I have, yeah, unsuccessfully.
I was gonna say, what kind of distance are we talking? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. You gotta be pretty darn close.
Pretty darn close, yeah. 15 yards, you know, maybe 25 yards at best. I mean, depending on your shot, how good of a shot you are, how accurate, how much you practice, just like anything.
But there's still designated hunting areas, right? Because we just saw there was like, what, 15 turkeys behind us a few minutes ago, and we're in a...
Oh, totally.
I mean, even though we're here on Olney Creek, there's houses around here, so you don't want people just blasting.
Right.
So where are the areas to hunt around here?
You know, out Swayze's a really good area. Placer has some good public land that you can hunt. If you have access to private land, that's always the best. You know, it's going to be the less pressured from all the hunters. Mm-hmm. But there's so much property out here. I mean, you know, all Shasta County, there's a lot of BLM land. You know, whether you're going up towards Whiskey Town or even Lake Shasta, I mean, you could jump in your boat and throw a fishing pole in there and throw your shotgun in there and go turkey hunting and bass fishing.
Wow.
All in the same day.
Wow.
How awesome is that?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm supposed to go turkey hunting here pretty soon. This will be my first time. So I moved here when I was 11 from Alaska, and I remember us hunting a little bit as a kid, you know, kind of you're trailing along, but I haven't done a hunter safety course or anything. So I'm excited, I was watching Meat Eater, and I don't know if you've seen that show, but you know, you watch a show and it gets you all fired up. You watch the show where they make robots. Next thing you know, you're buying Lego robot sets. You watch the show where the guy's going out hiking 20 miles to kill an elk, and you know, and you're like, hey, I can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you were gonna go up to Idaho, but you didn't, or you're about to go?
I've been actually going to Idaho for deer hunting and elk hunting, and just love it up there. A friend of mine who's a Purple Heart Marine vet invited me on a trip one year, and we've been going ever since.
Is this the same gentleman that runs the nonprofit organization?
Yeah, the Veteran Sportsmen's Association. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and what it is we raise money for veterans and their families so that we can take them out on trips, you know, all expense paid trips.
Oh, very nice.
For example, you know, we have one coming up, and it is a weekend trip for squirrel hunting, fishing on Blue Lake, and golfing at Likely Place Golf and RV Resort. Another one we're going to be doing in May is there's a busload of veterans coming from the Veterans Home out there off of Knighton Road.
The new one.
The new one, yeah, exactly. So they're going to bus out a bunch of veterans out there. We've been doing this for, I believe, 3 years now. And they bus them all out there, and we have party barges, and people bring their bass boats out, and we take all the veterans out for a fishing trip and have a trophy prize giveaway for whoever catches the biggest fish, and put on a little luncheon and barbecue. And
if they're in that home, they're most likely going to be, I mean, you're probably not going to have World War II vets, but you're going to have Korean vets and Vietnam, because I mean,
for sure,
the average age has got to be 70?
70 and up.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That is awesome.
It's really cool. They just have a blast.
Oh, I bet.
What they love doing is jumping in the bass boat and doing 70 miles an hour across the lake. That's where they get the most fun.
That's awesome. So how did he start this? You know, he's a veteran, right? And you said he's a Purple Heart. He did a couple of tours in
Iraq, yeah. You know, I met Matt back in 2005, great guy. And he, you know, PTSD is a big challenge for a lot of veterans returning back home. And so the goal is to try to get them reconnected back into the outdoors where you're just free and it's pure and it's clean and you can kind of let everything go and you just get to soak up the wonderful outdoors. And so that's the ultimate goal, is just to get the veterans back into reality and just a calming life, and also their families, so that they can bring their families out as well.
How do people find out? Is there a phone number, a website? How do they get involved? How do veterans find out about it?
Facebook's a big one, you know, the VSA or the Veteran Sportsmen's Association. We're also at many of the local expos. For example, the Sportsman's Expo is coming up, I believe, in April. And so we will have a booth down there. And we'll be actually doing a drawing, giving away a Shield 9mm pistol or a fishing trip, your choice. So that drawing's going on now. We'll be selling raffle tickets. And
very nice. So if they can't make it there, they can get on Facebook and look for VSA, Veteran Sports.
Yeah, Association.
Yep. Oh, very good, man. That's awesome. I love to hear
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, we go through phases, our society does, where we really appreciate the men and women that serve the country, and then we kind of go through some phase where there's some media hype where, you know, oh, we don't like, you know, something. And it seems like we're really coming through a phase right now where people really appreciate their freedom. I don't know what sparks the highs and lows of it, but
who knows?
I've noticed a real push in the last year or so of really being patriotic. I'm a former Marine, and all of a sudden there's this wave of thank you for your service, thank you for your service. And like, wow, I haven't heard that in like 3 or 4 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, you start hearing it a lot. And you're like, well, how did that catch on? So I really like that. That's awesome. We're gonna have to at some point meet Matt and get him on the show, because we love to.
Absolutely, man. He'd love to do it. He'd love to do it.
So back to hunting. You're getting ready for the season. I've seen your trophy. That was a trophy mule deer on your wall?
Yeah, man. I had an incredible experience about 2 years ago in Idaho. A couple of friends of mine and I went back there, and it was a smaller group that year, and it was just a phenomenal hunting year. The weather was right. There was a lot of animals running around, and I got my trophy buck of a lifetime. And it was on the very last day of the season. We had to pack up and get out of there, and so we only had till noon to hunt that day. And Idaho's huge. I mean, the mountains, it's flat, right? It's flat like this and flat like this. So when you're traversing across these mountains, I mean, it's just a long way, and it's grueling and it's tough work. And so we put on this hunt that we've spotted this buck the day before. And so he's coming up from the backside over this ridge, and then I'm gonna come up this finger, and we're gonna reconvene right on this little draw.
Have a little meeting.
Yeah, exactly. And see if we can, you know, get
negotiate.
that animal. So sure enough, we come together and, you know, come right up through that draw. I saw the buck first thing in the morning. He came right down in there. I'm like, sweet, this is working out per plan. Get over there, we convene, have our meeting. No animal, no buck. Where'd he go? Gone. So my buddy Brandon, he gets his stuff. He's hiking back, and I start hiking up closer to the ridge, sit on this little rock cropping, grab a Cliff Bar. All of a sudden I hear this crashing coming out of where I just walked through. And here's this big old monster buck just running down the mountain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. Put my rangefinder up, 400 yards. Boom.
That's a good shot, man, 400 yards.
Yeah,
solid.
Finally got him.
Very nice.
After 8 shots.
How much did he weigh?
He was pushing 300 pounds.
Yeah.
He was a monster, man. And for it to be the last day, it was just so cool, man. It was so cool.
Bring it all together, nice.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and that's by far the biggest buck I've ever harvested. And there are elk locally around here. There are hunts that you can put in. They're gonna be a little more challenging to get drawn for, because you have to put into a lottery draw. And so they only release a few limited tags.
Is it pure lottery? Like 100 people put it in, they're like, hey, we're pulling 15 out, or is there some process, point system or something like that?
Yeah, there is definitely a point system that you can put in for consecutive years and establish so many points, and then that increases your likelihood of getting drawn.
Okay, got it. So if you haven't won for 5 or 6 years, you technically should have a little bit of an advantage over somebody who's first year.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, so.
And I mean, for elk, it's more like 12 or 14 years. It takes
really?
a long time. Yeah,
oh, wow.
It takes a long time. But there's many different zones around here, whether it's Oak Run, Whitmore, getting up into the Trinities or the Marble Mountains further north. Even on the coast, there's a lot of hunting spots and elk over on the coast as well.
So this is all going to be on public land, right? This is how this works? Or if a friend who has a monster ranch.
Totally, yeah. I mean,
you're talking hundreds. When you say ranch, this isn't like a 4-acre.
No, thousands of acres.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 10,000 acre ranch or 5,000 acre ranch. Yep, absolutely.
Now, do you have to pull tags to hunt on a private land too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Still regulated.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But for deer, I know that there's you know, different like draws or opportunities where you can. Some owners will have like a property land management tag.
Got it.
Or an owner's tag, and so they may release those, you know, to private parties for a fee, I'm sure.
You know, I saw a thing a few years ago on, that's going to shift a little bit, down in Texas about how there were all these animals that, African animals that were extinct in Africa. And they had brought them over, ranchers had brought them over. And we're talking these monster ranches, you know, 8,000 acre type thing.
Yep.
And they were flourishing. And it was, the whole point was that they had, you know, through conservation, they were bringing the animals over here, raising them healthy, and then, you know, people were pulling, like you said, you pay, you get to go on. And
Absolutely.
And the show was talking about how they had actually brought these animals back from extinction. And then, you know, people were complaining like, hey, you're shooting these gorgeous animals. Like, no, by charging people to get to hunt these animals, we actually have raised the money to save the species. On the surface, it seems counterintuitive, right? Like, well, wait, what? By shooting the animal, you're saving it? It's like, by building a system, an economy around it, you're able to provide the environment for the animal to flourish. And it was a big deal how certain groups had gotten the hunting of these animals on private ranches stopped, because they get like, hey, this animal's almost extinct. And they're like, it's almost extinct in its natural habitat. It's actually flourishing in these private ranches.
Right.
I have 4 kids, and one of them is really into animals. She's 11, and she's been, you know, a lot of shows, a lot of reading on bringing the animals back. And it's really cool when she comes in and talks to me about how we're bringing the tiger back, and we're bringing, you know, because she goes through the phase. The first phase was she was very sad because, oh, these animals are, you know, why would people hunt these animals? And I'm like, well, you know, let's go a little further with this. And then the second phase is she comes back and talks about, you know, how through the right approach, you know, like a capitalist approach, that they're able to bring these animals back. So I want to get back. You talked about the Trinity. Now I know you got a good buddy, Sean Peters, right?
Yeah, man. He introduced me to. He took me on my first backpacking trip up to the Trinity Alps, and what a majestic place. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
oh yeah,
man, it's an amazing place up there, and there's so many lakes to go and venture and see. I mean, several hundred. But one in particular that is my favorite spot, and the first time I went there I just about died just because I was out of shape, overweight, and it's a hellacious trail. I mean, it's a long trail up to Grizzly Lake. I remember one trip, man, my brother-in-law, he caught like a 5-pound huge brook trout out of this high mountain lake. I mean, this lake sits at like 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
And he came back to camp after fishing all day with this monster brook trout. I mean, just incredible. Grinning from ear to ear, and but what an awesome spot. I mean, just the trail hiking up and the stars out there. I mean, could you imagine you're sitting at 8,000 feet camping under the stars, and
no street lights to pollute the, yeah.
I mean, it is incredible.
See a lot of shooting stars in a spot like that.
Yeah, it's hard to fall asleep. I mean, you can sit there all night long and just stare at the stars. Disclaimer, you're not going to go and catch a 5-pounder. I guarantee it. That was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Kind of like my buck, you know?
That was huge, yeah. 5 pounds is huge for a brook.
It was a massive trout.
That's a monster.
Most of them are nice little pan fryers.
Yeah.
8 to 10 inch, 12 inch.
Do you get up there
Great
often
fish.
still?
Try and go at least once a year. But there are so many places I haven't been up there. But it's hard to not go back to the same place because it's so amazing. You know, and now that I've conquered the hike and I can do it each and every time.
And you're 40 pounds lighter.
40 pounds lighter.
Now you can have a 40-pound pack.
Can fly up that thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I need to get out there more. We love to go over to the coast. I'm enamored with Trinidad and Blue Lake and the redwoods, man. If you haven't been to Patrick's Point and hiked
that's beautiful.
You know, Return of the Jedi. That's where they filmed it, and it's awesome. Take the kids through that. They love that. They're, you know.
And summertime, it's great, right? I mean,
man,
you beat the heat, get over there to the coast, and
it's 110 here. It's like 64, and it's just gorgeous.
That's
in the Pacific
perfect.
Ocean. Yeah, it's beautiful. I don't get to Lassen as much. My wife loves to, you know, that I think it's the middle of July or June or something like that year that the sun stays up the longest or something like that, and it's everybody goes and treks Lassen.
Right.
I got to do that with her.
Yeah,
this
get
year.
up to the top.
Yeah. Have you done that one?
I personally haven't. No, I'm surprised, man. I'm gonna have to make that.
I heard it's
happen,
not too bad. It's not Grizzly Lake.
You know what's great up there too, towards that area out east is Hat Creek.
Yeah.
I mean, world famous, right? For fishing and camping, and we're just surrounded by unbelievable nature. You know, mountains and streams and lakes, and I mean, it's just each direction you go, north, south, east, west. It's awesome.
How did you, you know, this isn't the greatest segue I've ever had, but you're from Sebastopol, right?
I am, yeah, little old Sebastopol, California.
It's all grapes now, right? But it used to be.
For sure, yeah.
Was it apple? Or what was it back in the day?
Well, you know, my family, on my mom's side, they immigrated over here from Italy in early 1900s. And so as soon as they hit New York, they split to the West Coast, hit San Francisco, and went straight north to Sebastopol. And so my great-great-grandfather ended up purchasing a bunch of property, and, you know, it was all, at that time, it was all plum orchards.
Okay.
And then once that started phasing out, it all switched to apples. So they ripped all the plums out, planted a bunch of apple trees, and the apple trees have flourished for years. But that market obviously has shifted, and then now the wine industry has become a big thing,
Yeah.
you know, worldwide.
Yeah.
And so they ripped all the apple trees out and planted all vineyards. And so naturally the properties have been sold off, most of them. I mean, there's still a lot of property in my family, but it's all vineyards now, man. It's incredible.
Well, what brought you to Redding? How'd you get here?
So I graduated my plumbing apprenticeship program in 2000, or excuse me, in 2004. I had vacationed up here a few different times, houseboat trips on Shasta, and
yeah.
you know, skiing, wakeboarding, that kind of stuff, and just love the area. I mean, everything I'm about is the outdoors, hiking, backpacking, fishing, camping, and so it's unlimited up here. And so I just had the desire to move up, and housing was much more affordable up here. You know, even though it was the peak of the market in 2005 when I moved up.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, but I thought I got a screaming deal, which I did compared to Sonoma County. I wouldn't change it for the world. Wouldn't go back down there to live, and if anything, I'm heading Idaho.
If anything, you're heading more north?
Heading more north.
Man,
out of state.
and you got to remember, your ancestors are from Italy. They're not used to that cold. Even North Italy is still, you know, I mean, still warm.
Yeah.
I grew up in Alaska, and so I have no desire to live in the cold. This is as cold as I want, like, just to be a little frost, but I don't.
A little chilly.
Anytime that you dip below freezing, no.
That's it. No tolerance.
In our business group, you talked about how, like, you know, you long term, Idaho calls you, and I went through my head. I'm like, no man, the equator calls me. If anything is go down when it's winter time here. But I'm being a wimp. You know, we had Joe Clemente on. And he's the president of Shasta Builders Exchange and the trade school. And I know you're heavily involved with both those organizations. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. As I mentioned, I went through a 4-year apprenticeship program myself. And so when I moved up here to Redding, you know, I went to work for another guy for a period of time, and then ended up opening up a satellite branch in my folks' company called Custom Plumbing. And so, you know, through the years, the last 7, 8, 9 years, I got involved with the Builders Exchange. And I currently sit on the board there as a board member for Joe. And then, you know, we've been slowly building the trade school. And I'm passionate about, because I was an apprentice and went through a certified program, I'm passionate about, you know, wanting to get other people trained, whether it's youth coming out of high school or people looking to change careers, just more involvement in the work industry, the trade industry. Whether it's electrical, whether it's plumbing, whether it's carpentry. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for people to make a good living, work with their hands, enjoy what they do, take pride in what they do, see the finished product at the end, and be super happy about it.
You know, at the micro and macro level, I think America we need more help in the infrastructure. You know, you hear about it at the national level, you hear about a lot of the national projects. They're like, hey man, these things were built. You know, this is coming out of the Great Depression, post-World War II. You know, these things don't have a unlimited lifespan, and we need to start putting more into infrastructure. But we see that on the micro level too. Totally. You know, I said it on this show several times because I work with a lot of the tradespeople. And so overwhelmingly, I hear them say they are undermanned for the demand, you know, and plus had my own experiences where I'm like, hey, I need some help. And you're like, I'll be there in about 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
What? What?
No, it's 110
out. You don't just
out.
show up. You're just not. You don't have the bat phone or something.
Right.
And so that's a clear sign that supply and demand.
Absolutely.
The demand is much higher than the supply.
And I think we're all aware that that's going to change, right? I mean, it has changed, and there's been a shortage, and there's going to continue to be a shortage until that whole mindset change occurs, where people are, understanding that the trades are a viable opportunity to make a great career. Whether that's, making a career as a plumber or an estimator, or then turning it into being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. It's just an incredible opportunity. We were at a job yesterday, man. Incredible. I mean, just beautiful. We're overlooking the whole Sacramento River and the Sundial Bridge just straight on down. We're sitting up on top of the bluffs. And the very first thing my guys say to me when we get to the job is they're like, we get to work here today? I'm like, yeah, is this awesome or what? It's going to make the day incredible.
Yeah.
So much better. I mean, yeah, we're trenching, we're digging by hand. It's
Not
hard
a
work,
cubicle.
but not a cubicle. I mean, look at the view.
Yeah.
Look at where we get to work.
I was at a sporting event with one of my kids, and I'm not the kind of dad who's, hey, second is the first loser. I'm not that guy. And there's a lot of those dads and moms there, trust me, at all the sports my kids are in. But there was something that caught me. So these parents were talking about how they were going, their kids really need to perform high in the sport, and then the outcome was they'll get a college scholarship. Right. And I thought, okay, well, what is your child so your child's gonna put all their time and effort into the sport so that they can go to college and get an education. Now let's flip that for a second. Imagine if I come in and I say, hey, look, you're gonna get really, really good math scores so that you can play baseball in college, because they wanna bring up the math scores of the baseball players. So don't worry about actually being good at baseball. What I need you to be good is at math. Now, if that were the case, do you think that kid that's helping there do you think that kid's gonna play baseball? No, that kid is gonna ride the pine.
Right.
And so conversely, if you're so good at sports that you got a college scholarship, are you actually learning anything in college, or are you there to play sports?
Play sports.
Now what?
Yeah.
So I just think that's a fallacy that has been, one of those things that's been,
I agree.
Really pushed. It's like, what if you want your kid to get a college education, how about you focus on their education?
Totally.
So when they transition to college, rather than, no, I want them to go to a really good school, yeah, but now they're not really a student. They're a baseball player or a swimmer or a wrestler. I know that there are exceptions to every rule, okay? But I don't live my life by the exception. So to me, when I think of a lot of the people that have gone and gotten athletic scholarships to college, far and away, I rarely meet someone who then can tell you, yeah, I got that degree in mechanical engineering through wrestling. Now, I know there's exceptions. I know I'm going to get commentary and people are going to be pissed. But what it is, hey, I went and I got a degree in, something, and now I really didn't pay attention. They just kind of pushed me through they knew that I had a big meet this weekend, and so they kind of just like, hey, all you really need is a C, and
You'll get through.
So I just think that that's a fallacy, and I think it's part of I kind of understand where it comes from. If you go back a generation and a half, college was the Holy Grail. It was the golden chalice that, if you got that, it was just a ticket. And if everybody gets it, then it's not, if everybody has it, then it doesn't have the value. And you can't just go get it. You have to, there was something to be learned in the pursuit of it. So meaning, if you just have a college degree versus if you don't have that piece of paper, but you understand how to get things done, that's what college used to be.
Right.
And I just don't, when I get online and I see somebody who's working on their second PhD at Harvard complaining about how they can't get a job or how, and then trying to blame, well, it must be some form of society's failure on me. And then you're like, it's
craziness.
All that education and no wisdom.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I can totally relate to that, because I wanted to go play college football. Mm-hmm. To play football.
Yeah.
Not to get a master's degree or a
Left
bachelor's
tackle?
degree.
I'm looking at you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What position? You was running back? Or?
Yeah, running back and linebacker. I went to a small school, so there wasn't many guys to choose from.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you get to...
Oh, man. First day of college practice, I look at these guys that are 6'7" and 300 pounds, and they're faster than I am. And they are left tackles or D linemen.
Yeah.
And so I realized quickly, I'm like, no way. I'm going to plumb. I'm going into the plumbing apprenticeship, and I'm going to stay away from football.
Well, I think you made a good choice.
I think so too, man. Yeah, I've been happy with it, you know.
With a lot of the projects that you do here, I know that we've talked, and one of the big things is, and I want to talk to you about, was tankless water heaters.
Yeah.
Because I know that's like, so the pros are you save money?
Totally, man. I mean, there's three major benefits, right? One of them, you know, for folks that enjoy a lot of hot water or long showers, you have unlimited hot water.
It sounds great on this cold morning.
It does, yeah, no doubt. Unlimited hot water. So you're no longer limited to 40 gallons or 50 gallons or whatever the size tank you have. So you can run that baby as long as you want. Another one is definitely energy savings. So if you think about it, if you accumulate the total usage in a household of hot water in a 24-hour period, it may add up to, in a bigger family, 4 hours. Right?
That's actually a lot, yeah.
That's a lot in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
So with the tankless water heater, those 20 hours, you're using no energy.
Yeah.
It is off. As soon as the tap opens up, yeah, now you're burning fuel or using electricity. And so that's what the biggest advantage is as far as energy savings, is it's just off 90% of the time.
Is there any cons to it? Is there any like reason why you like tell someone, you probably don't want to go with this, or no?
Yeah, I mean, the only downfall is it does cost a little bit more money, but it's a long-term expense.
To install, you mean?
To install, yeah, initially. But it's a long-term investment. You know, it's definitely going to last longer than a standard tank water heater. You know, it's smaller. That's another advantage too. It's a lot smaller unit, and it hangs right on the wall. So if you need to add another, you know, weight bench in the gym, or, you know, speed bag or whatever.
Another weight bench?
You need another weight bench.
I do? Oh, wow.
So, or a speed bag you can hang up.
There you go, speed bag. Yeah,
Speed
okay,
bag,
we'll go with speed bag.
Yeah, box it up.
Yeah, very nice.
So definitely space savings also.
Is the average job, you're more of getting called out for like people are having issues though, right? I mean, I know you do a lot of new construction and stuff like that, but I mean, it's primarily people are having, hey.
Yeah, my sewer's backed up.
Sewer's backed up.
You know, my whole house is backed up, or the kitchen, you know, quit draining, kitchen sink. We get a lot of those calls. There's a lot of drain cleaning jobs. And then we have the ability, you know, once we get it cleared, if it is a main line that backs the whole house up, we have the ability to send a camera down the line and scope out what's going on, and just be able to see, is it, you know, a damaged pipe? Is it collapsed? Is it, you know, roots that have intruded? That way we have the information and the owner can make an educated decision.
Now you guys, I hear all the time through our friends, because we have mutual friends, so I don't know, are you 24/7? Because I know for them you are, because they're always bragging about like, I call them at Sunday at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, there's water coming everywhere. Is that, you guys are 24/7?
Oh, you bet, man.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
we'll be available 24/7. You know, a lot of times though, it's funny. You know, what seems to be an emergency for somebody, when you ask them a few questions and they kind of calm down or realize the situation, it typically turns into, yeah, you know what, I can wait till tomorrow, or, you know, it's not absolutely dire straits that you have to be here tonight or at 4:30 in the morning. But
I'm going to test that. I'm going to call you at 4:30 in the morning.
Please do, yeah.
Because I get up every morning at 4:30. I'll call you and just quiz you.
I'll
Is this an emergency?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I can't get any hot water in my bathroom. So you guys handle commercial, obviously, then, and residential, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. Custom homes are a lot of fun too, man. I mean, when you're plumbing somebody's dream home, you know, that they've saved their money for or have been working so hard to get to that point, it's a lot of fun to work with those customers and, you know, be able to install the plumbing fixtures that they truly want and they're going to appreciate for 20, 30 years down the road.
So we were talking about, you know, trade school and how the mindset of, hey, go to college, you'll get a career, and it kind of shifted away from all the tradesmen that I know are doing very well. I think growing up, I thought, oh, well, you don't make as much money. With a college degree, you make 2 or 3 times. But all the tradesmen I know are doing very well. You know, I mean,
like a stigma that, you know, you go work.
That's not real.
Yeah, I don't believe it's real at all. I think the opportunity is endless, to be honest with you. I mean, you can make as little or as much money as you want, you know, at whatever industry or career that you're working in. And the trades are no different. You know, you can take your career and accelerate that to the moon and make as much money and have, you know, as much success as you want.
Which is what America was built on.
Totally.
That's there's a
small
lot of
business.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's small business, man.
And when we talk about the middle class, it was built. The entrepreneurs, that start the business and the trade's an excellent opportunity. See, you know, I think that there's a false equivalency is that you have to be good with money. You can't, regardless of how much you make, there's plenty of people making millions of dollars on Wall Street and spending much more and then being bankrupt. So this whole idea of how much you make has to be tempered with your ability to manage what you make.
Absolutely. I was a plumber, right? Getting into the trades, I was a plumber. But then I became a business owner. And so now I'm realizing that, you know, there's a lot of times where I cannot work in my business, that I need to be working on my business, you know, as the business owner. And so I'm not out in the field necessarily, you know, wrenching pipes and installing heaters and that kind of stuff. And so that's been a cool experience for me, transitioning over the last few years, definitely going into the more business ownership of a plumbing contractor, as opposed to just being out there wrenching on the pipes.
I hear it all the time, you know, that probably sports had a big part. You know, you grew up playing sports,
right,
and that idea of teamwork and direction and goal setting and stuff like that. A lot of the people that I see that are successful in business have. So I was bashing sports earlier, but what I was really bashing were the parents pushing the kid and losing sight of, well, are you pushing them because you want to see them do better in life and get an education? Don't forget to educate them. But the people that I see that are successful, a lot of them have a strong background in athletics growing up and understanding goal setting, team building, the importance of working together. Wrestlers are some of the most self-disciplined people I've ever met in my life.
Oh, major discipline, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting weight all the time. Are you kidding me?
Oh, dude.
Back to the trade school and mentoring. I know that Joe talked about a wide breadth of people that they like to work with. You'd mentioned youth, bringing youth up. Are there, obviously they're learning the trades, but what about like teaching them some of the business acumen, or there's the mentoring process? Can you, because I think you're heavily involved in that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's at the ground floor right now. One of the apprentices at the plumbing school, he works with our company, and he came through the Builders Exchange, which is absolutely awesome. Great kid, driven, you know, he wants to learn, and I'm happy to have him aboard and be able to teach him. Just super excited for him, because I know the career he's going to have is going to be outstanding. What's really awesome about the trade school is it's relatively inexpensive. And not only do you get to go to school, but you're working in the field every day too.
That's what Joe was saying. So you're, instead of taking on heavy loans, you're actually making money.
Yeah, you're not accumulating a bunch of debt. And I mean, you know, we're happy at my company to pay for our apprentices to go to school. So they're essentially out of pocket, you know, zero.
Fantastic.
And they get to go to work every day and make money. And so they're learning in the classroom, you know, out of the textbook, and then they're able to take that and apply it into the field. And it expedites that process of them getting the knowledge and expedites them to be able to get out and work on their own.
Joe was telling me, I think he said it was like $10,000. And I was like, I know $10,000 is a lot of money, but when we talk about higher education, no.
I tell you, one of the biggest things that just really hits home with me is the fact that these individuals get to figure out if they like it or not, because they're working in it.
Oh man.
As opposed to going to school for 2 or 3 years to get a degree, right?
Yeah.
That you're not actually even working in yet. And then you get that degree and you go to work in it, you may not like it.
Yeah.
So you spend all that time and money for something that you may not even like when you get out there. And so that's what's great about the trades, is you actually get to do it while you're going through the school, and maybe you figure out, it's not for me. Right now, maybe. But what's cool is it's always in your back pocket. And that was one thing, you know, growing up that I was always told, you know, get this apprenticeship out of the way. And if you want to do something after that, then you'll always have it in your back pocket. You can always come back to it. And I thought that was really cool.
It served you well. Hey, John, thanks so much for coming out. I appreciate it. I got you out here early in the morning.
Yeah, man.
Since I didn't have my license, we couldn't go on a hunt, but
we'll be doing that soon, though.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I really want. Can we talk about, before we close, your friend Matt? And so it's the Veteran
Sportsmen's Association,
and they're on Facebook.
Yep, definitely on Facebook. We have a website as well. Look for Veteran Sportsmen's Association. Just a great organization. A lot of great folks involved in it, and we put on a lot of trips. You know, just looking at sponsoring people and getting them in touch with the outdoors.
If we don't take care of the people that make sacrifices for us, there won't be anybody there to make sacrifices for us.
That's exactly right, man.
So thank you so much, sir.
Thanks,
it's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.